is up, world? I gotta tell my camera to turn on here. Had an oops. Let's go into properties. Oops. There we be. Alright. Hope everyone's having a good crazy week here with the bullshit elections and scams and lies. I'm not even going to get into all that because everywhere else in the world is, but I am here today to show you all why you are being lied to, why you're being played like sheep. Yes. So what was 1953? CIA started an operation called Operation Mockingbird, which is where the CIA took over the news and media to lie to you. And it was all to be a liberal movement. All sound familiar? Liberals lies, liberals lies, liberal lie, liberal lie, liberal lie. Not to be confused with Project Mockingbird, which was to do with wiretapping of public officials and others. It was connected with Operation Mockingbird, but it is not Operation Mockingbird. I've heard multiple people be like, oh, it's Operation Mockingbird, Project Mockingbird. No, okay. Two different things, one big goal. So, back in the 50s, when the Dulles brothers and their cronies in the CFR, CIA, wanted to start controlling the news and media, here's your documents for it. Those people that want to be naysayers and whatever else, here's some documents on it. Scroll this down a little bit so you can get the header of the page. Documents.theblackvault.com /documents/CIA/Operation Mockingbird CIA.pdf. That's just one of them. It's nothing big and spectacular. It's a very good read. It is talking about and exposing what they've done with the news and media and why, and how it's hinting into just some of the cases about it. So here's what Operation Mockingbird looks like for all the brain dead, brainwashed liberals out there that think you know so much.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are concerned about the troubling trend of irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false
news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these same simply aren't true without checking facts first. Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is
extremely dangerous. You hearing them? I'm sure many are, and the awake are, but the sheeple are not. I'll get into why you're so brainwashed, liberals. Don't worry.
Extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely
dangerous to our democracy.
This is
extremely dangerous
to our democracy.
Dangerous.
extremely dangerous to our democracy.
extremely
Dangerous to our democracy.
What if all isn't as it seems? What if the reality you found was false?
a carefully constructed narrative by unseen special interests designed to manipulate your opinion.
I've been a journalist for about 25 years, and I was educated to lie, to betray, and not to tell the truth to the public. There is nobody coming to you and saying, well, we are the Central Intelligence Agency, would you like to work for us? No, this is not the case how it happens. What they do, these transatlantic organizations, is they invite you for seeing the United States. They pay all your expenses and everything. So you're bribed, you get more and more corrupt because they make you good contacts. You won't know that those good contacts are, let's say, non-official or officially people working for Central Intelligence Agency or other American agencies. So you make friends. You think they are friends, and you cooperate with them. They ask you, well, could you do me this favor? Could you do me that favor?
So those that don't know, he was a newscaster. He's telling you what they did to him. Did you listen? I bet most didn't. You still won't believe it. Hold on. We got more coming.
Stories to their benefit.
You are fake news.
So every news agency, every television, radio station in the Albuquerque or Santa Fe area had our snitches in there. So we knew, and we paid them. We paid them good money. One of the reasons you get the people is you pay them, and that was controversial. That was somewhat controversial.
Do you know of national media that have had?
Oh, yes, yeah. I'm not going to name them.
We now have relationship with reporters from every underlined major wire service, newspaper, news weekly, and television network in the nation. In many instances, we have persuaded reporters to postpone, change, hold, or even scrap stories that could have adversely affected national security interests or jeopardized our sources and methods. And it goes on to then say that they have the same within academic circles.
There's a finding that the Pike Committee made that they had verified 42 full-time Central Intelligence Agency paid employees that were inserted inside the major national news media centers. And most of them ended up being the so-called national security reporters.
The man turned to me, and this is a board member of Time Life, and said, Dr. Greer, we basically are scribes taking dictation from the right hand of the king. The fourth estate is dead.
But just understand that the CFR was instrumental in creating the CIA. They were directly connected to the mainstream media, and the Washington Post, New York Times, CBS, and others that were feeding information directly to the CIA to be published to alter the opinions of the American people.
And are still Trump supporters. They go, yeah, you guys are going crazy. He's doing, what are you so surprised about? He's doing exactly what he said he's going to do.
Well, and I think that the dangerous, edges here are that he's trying to undermine the media, trying to make up his own facts. And it could be that while unemployment and the economy worsens, he could have undermined the messaging so much that he can actually control exactly what people think. And that is our job.
Yeah, if you
that he can actually
listen close again. Liberals, what she just told you. And you people say you're not brainwashed.
Control exactly what people think, and that is our job. Exactly what people think, and that is our job. Exactly what people think, and that is our job. Exactly what people think, and that is our job. Exactly what people think, and that is our job.
Yeah.
Did that wake you up? I bet not. Many of you are too asleep. You won't believe it, even though it was right in front of your face. Might as well have been a bee and stung you. What's this one?
Law enforcement that share the goals of reimagining policing. Reimagining policing in the 21st century.
Rethinking and reimagining policing.
Community efforts to reimagine policing
to reimagine policing.
We have to reimagine what policing looks like.
Reimagining policing, reimagining our public safety.
Reimagine a citizen-led approach. You can begin to reimagine law enforcement. Reimagine public safety in this country.
What can we do to reimagine public safety?
Reimagining public safety.
To reimagine public safety.
We must reimagine what public safety looks like.
Law enforcement.
Mock. Seems like that's what they were doing. Hold on, we got more.
Spent by the American media to cover that crime.
Oh, it's got refresh.
Crime, zero. Only $8,000 was spent, and that was Ramparts magazine, Playboy magazine, and the Los Angeles Free Press. And
I'm going to stop it right there. Who's he talking about? Ramparts magazine. Most of you don't know who that is. Ramparts magazine was started from 1962 through 1975 to be a new left political movement. I'm not even going to go through and read all this. You can do it on your own and in your own free time. They admit they were designed to lie to you and make you hate America and back communism. That's pretty interesting. How many of you liberals really do sweat communism? But you don't like Putin because media told you. But you love China. Fucking ignorance. Stop, people. It's time to wake up.
Larry Flint bought the Los Angeles Free Press, offered $1 million reward to anyone who would help solve the murder of John Kennedy. Months later, he was shot in the back and crippled. Walter Cronkite and Lyndon Johnson offered no such reward. And the media today are propagandists. Clinton has put 95%. Yes.
John, now let's move to right now today. Is there evidence suggesting that the U.S. intelligence are still infiltrating the media, or do they totally control it today?
They absolutely and totally control it. And these documents supposedly to be released by Trump are absolutely, totally meaningless. Because, Governor, you know as somebody who is in the military, the intelligence agencies don't keep diaries that say we did it. The two most important documents are already in the film. When Garrison arrested Clay Shaw, 1967, we have the document from the CIA that orders them to come to Clay Shaw's aid. Otherwise, Jim Garrison will get a conviction. The second most important document, because the Warren Commission report was dismantled by Mark Lane in his rusted judgment. And by the way, it wasn't printed in this country. He had to flee to England to get it published, and he only got $1,500. Then a lot of people came out of the woodwork at their own expense. Sylvia Marr, many of them did wonderful work disproving the Warren report. Well, that is all over with now. You look now, you can't go to a hockey game, a baseball game, any game, a basketball game, without seeing military all over the place. And Jim Garrison said it. John, he said this in 1980. I got the only interview with Mr. Garrison. He said, John, it's like Germany in the 1930s. Well, it's worse today because the Pentagon pays these National Hockey League and yes.
How do we wake the people up? How do we wake them up? Because it seems nobody cares whether, you know, first of all, they broke the law. All these documents were supposed to be released. It shows me clearly the alphabet agencies run the government when the president won't even abide by the law. Unfortunately, John, we're out of time. I would love to spend more time with you. Will you come back again when and if they release the rest of the documents?
I will be so glad to come back here and talk to you anytime, Governor. Listen, good things only happen in the world from the beginning of time and civilization. It's the black sheep who do it. Galileo, Copernicus, All of these troublemakers, Jesus only had 12 followers, only 3% of Americans fought the revolution, Castro only had 10 people in a rowboat. You are one of these wonderful black sheep who is helping inform the world. And as an atheist, I thought I would never say this to anybody, but Governor, God bless you.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it. John Barber, a great director and a man out there who's living the cause, living the life, and seeking the truth.
Not all people who are rich are bad Masons. A lot of people need to learn the truth about Masonry, and I'll dig and divulge into that later. I'm not pro-Mason, so get that shit out your fucking heads now, because I know certain people will. And I am not pro-Illuminati either. I'm a Whig. Learn what Whig is. W-H-I-G. This one is a great one. I don't want to let the whole thing play, but I want to give you guys a little clip into what it's talking about here. This was put together by Al Jazeera. Think what you will. They've been really good in the world about releasing some truth, not lies, not CIA operatives. This one is called Covert Operations, How the CIA Works with Hollywood. Oh, I see I cut my own screen off over there. Let's scroll that over a little bit. Not bad. A little more, huh? A little more. Oh yeah, I stretched it because it wasn't readable earlier for some reason on a page.
Misconduct against Harvey Weinstein.
Watch any big-budget war movie or take in a spy thriller, and you could walk away not knowing just how much your movie experience was shaped by the Pentagon or CIA. However, a trove of official documents obtained under U.S. Freedom of Information laws and published this year detail the dealings between filmmakers and intelligence officials at Langley, Virginia, the CIA headquarters.
Probably the best known are Zero Dark 30 and Argo, but they've also assisted the television show Homeland.
How do we deal with homegrown violent jihadists?
They've also assisted Alias.
You work for the very enemy you thought you were fighting.
24.
Tell me where the device is!
A CBS series called The Agency.
Then he slit his throat.
They assisted a film called The Sum of All Fears, starring Ben Affleck.
Captain Jack Ryan, CIA. Charlie Wilson's War is a really good example where they maintain the idea that, are we really doing the right thing by arming the Mujahideen, the forerunners of the Al-Qaeda terrorist organization in Afghanistan in the 1980s? They kind of question that in a kind of jokey way. Like the last caption in the film Charlie Wilson's War is something like, we came, we saw, but then we mucked up the end game, or some joke, It's like, no, that's not what you did actually. And you know it because the original script and the original book that you base this on doesn't say that. You armed terrorists in a really horrific conflict.
Are you folks hearing what he just said?
The whole organization behind it. At a systematic level. And that turned Charlie Wilson's War into this, saccharine, benign movie.
Throughout the 1990s, the CIA worked with Hollywood very specifically on movies that portrayed the CIA as sort of a heroic force protecting America. Most of the movies were based on Tom Clancy books, actually. So you had A Hunt for Red October and that entire franchise. The lead character, Jack Ryan, is this super heroic figure, and he's constantly, taking down bad guys and saving America, saving the world from various threats, whether it's Islamic terrorism or the IRA or ultimately white supremacists.
Between them, the CIA and the U.S. Department of Defense have had varying levels of input, from simply clarifying points for authenticity to actually writing parts of scripts on more than 1,800 movies and TV shows. When it
on over 1,000 TV shows and movies.
comes to influencing filmmakers, shaping the story, the Pentagon is usually in a stronger negotiating position than the CIA. Because of the hardware at its disposal, it can shut down a movie before a scene is ever shot.
The Department of Defense is actually a much more powerful player in the entertainment industry for basically financial reasons. The Department of Defense has expensive toys. They have submarines, they have aircraft carriers, they have tanks, and they have the personnel to operate each of those things. So if a filmmaker wants to make a war movie, they often will approach the Department of Defense and basically ask to borrow that equipment. And the Department of Defense will say, maybe, but can I see your script? And they will either say, this is great, we love the way that the military is portrayed in this, we will go ahead and collaborate with you. Or they may say, we hate the way that we're portrayed and refuse to participate.
When the Pentagon does agree to support a film, there can be some scripting strings attached. And the Vietnam War is clearly a sore point. In The Hulk, a reference to a US operation that poisoned Vietnamese farmland was removed. And in the Bond film Tomorrow Never Dies, a suggestion that the US did not win the war was cut out. In Iron Man, a reference to soldier suicides was removed, again at the Pentagon's insistence. The CIA's presence in Hollywood is harder to detect. It goes back to the early days of the Cold War and was designed to counter a propaganda effort coming out of the Soviet Union. The CIA placed undercover agents in major studios where they monitored left-wing screenwriters and directors. This was at the height of Cold War paranoia, and Hollywood was...
I'm going to back that up a sec so you can hear again what she said. Left wing. Left wing.
Where they monitored left-wing screenwriters and directors. This was at the height of Cold War paranoia, and Hollywood was under the scrutiny of the US Congress.
Is investigating alleged communist influence and infiltration in the moving picture industry.
The agency started influencing scripts. One senior executive at Paramount Pictures, working covertly for the CIA, described how, to counter what the Soviets were saying about the persecution of African Americans, quote, well-dressed Negroes, unquote, would be planted in certain films.
What happens in the 1990s is that the Cold War ends, and all of a sudden the CIA is left without a visible, viable enemy to justify its existence. If they were going to continue, they had to do something to improve their public image. And one of the responses to that crisis was to begin to work with Hollywood to convince the American public that, and Congress, that they were still worth being an institution.
In 1996, the CIA's Entertainment Liaison Office in Hollywood began offering free support to movies that featured the agency. Chase Brandon, an intelligence agent and cousin of actor Tommy Lee Jones, was the CIA's first liaison officer. He's credited as a technical advisor on a host of Hollywood blockbusters, such as The Recruit, starring Al Pacino as a veteran CIA officer.
Our failures are known, our successes are not.
In reality, Brandon was far more than a mere advisor on The Recruit. He helped pitch the film to Disney, that eventually produced and distributed the movie, and was involved in the script writing.
The Recruit.
As another CIA liaison officer put it, Hollywood is the only way the public learns about the agency. Which begs the question, should the public be learning about the CIA from the CIA without even being aware of the agency's role in the production process? These issues became public with the release of one of the biggest CIA Hollywood collaborations to date, Zero Dark 30, a film about the search for Osama bin Laden.
You really believe this story? Osama bin Laden?
The Zero Dark 30 was a really unusual case, I think, for the CIA in terms of how it works with Hollywood. The CIA gave the director and screenwriter a lot of access to the agency. They bounced a lot of ideas back and forth, and they wanted to really kind of tightly control the narrative that this was putting out. It backfired, though, because very quickly after the movie came out, it was criticized for suggesting that torture somehow had played a role in the information gathering that led to the capture and assassination of Osama bin Laden.
Torture and the CIA's use of it, especially after 9/11, were already under investigation when Zero Dark 30 was released. The Senate Intelligence Committee wrote a letter to the production studio, Sony Pictures. They said, "We believe the film is grossly inaccurate and misleading in its suggestion that torture resulted in information that led to the location of Osama bin Laden." Zero Dark 30's director Catherine Bigelow eventually had to respond to the allegation that her film was making the CIA's case for torture. In an editorial for the Los Angeles Times, she wrote that critics were, quote, confusing depiction with endorsement. Torture was, as we all know, employed in the early years of the hunt. That doesn't mean it was the key to finding bin Laden. It means it's a part of the story we couldn't ignore.
That's more of a problem with the film industry and the creative industry. Total disinterest in the responsibility of the ideological products that they create. And this is why you can have a very liberal town full of very liberal or even sometimes left-wing celebrities and directors, but actually they create films that are very much in keeping with the American Empire project.
The CIA rarely has any kind of public credit that suggests that they had any hand in shaping the narrative of that film. That lack of transparency I find incredibly problematic because it doesn't allow the viewer to be a smart, critical viewer.
How about this? Why don't they just have at the beginning of each film, made with the support of the Central Intelligence Agency, let's see how long the practice lasts then. Because it won't.
Exactly.
Because people will look at it and say, oh, it's one of those propaganda films.
Exactly. He nailed it right on the damn head. Let's put it in there. Let's see how people react then. See how they think about it then. How many liberals would be awake then knowing, oh, I've been lied to because CIA wanted to lie to me so they can control who I vote for. Here's a...
Tomorrow night, 48 hours.
These are ex-CIA agents speaking up.
We'll take a fresh look at the groundbreaking documentary with unique insight into the war on terror. All 12 living CIA directors offer candid views of the battle against terrorism. Their opinions are even more relevant now as the race for the White House heats up.
I found that I was making decisions on life and death.
John, you are now clear to engage the vehicle.
Those decisions are never easy, and frankly, they shouldn't be easy.
Anything except full confidence.
The keepers of America's secrets, the spy masters, shared for the first time their passionate disagreements about the agency's past, its current mission, and its future.
Let me bare my soul just a little bit more.
In a conflict against a ruthless enemy, what are the rules for America's spy masters?
Another vehicle and more people clear to engage all those.
Does the CIA go too far?
Keep going to town, man.
Or not far enough?
We have people chopping the heads off Christians. I would bring back waterboarding, and I'd bring back a hell of a lot worse.
If some future president is going to decide to waterboard, he better bring his own bucket because he's going to have to do it himself. The agency's not going to do this again.
The agency's saying they're going to do what they want.
Our Constitution.
Torture, yeah, is definitely bad. But sometimes when you got people trying to attack your country in the extent of, like, blowing up buildings, you might be surprised how much torture gives you.
It does prohibit cruel and unusual treatment.
And they still torture.
If it's cruel, we shouldn't be doing it.
The question people need to ask themselves is 10 years from now, will people be asking them the same questions about the use of these drones?
This administration prefers killing terrorists rather than capture them.
I'm going to pause right there. He loved his drones, didn't he? He loved killing people. Who's Trump killed? Just a couple? Terrorists who were terrorizing the entire world? Come on, people. This man was drone happy. He loved keeping little Mexicans in cages, too.
He is killing more people than he needs to, and we'd be better off capturing some of them and interrogating them.
These are tough decisions, but you know this is a war. God forbid this country faced another 9/11. You know what the first question would be. Why the hell did you let this happen? Why the hell did you let this happen?
You can watch 40 Hours present.
Huh. Why? 'Cause the news and media. Oh, wait. Here's another one. It's kind of a 4-minute clip. Let's hear him lie some more.
Seen this segment on your local news?
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism.
But we are concerned about the troubling trend of irresponsible one-sided.
If you have, your local news station is owned by Sinclair Broadcasting Group. If you haven't, you've probably seen this creepy mashup making the rounds on social media.
To push their own personal bias.
This minute-long script, which fails to cite examples of irresponsible reporting, appears to echo President Trump's attacks on fake news. So what is Sinclair, and why is everyone from John Oliver to President Trump talking about it?
Dozens of reporters forced to repeat the same message over and over again like members of a brainwashed cult.
For most of its existence, Sinclair has been the biggest broadcast company that no one has ever heard of. Based just outside Baltimore, Sinclair was founded by Julian Sinclair Smith in 1971. His 4 older sons are now the company's majority shareholders, with David Smith serving as the company chairman. Over the past 5 decades, Sinclair has grown into the nation's largest independent owner of TV stations and now owns nearly 200 affiliates, concentrating in smaller markets like Green Bay, Scranton, or Cincinnati.
Just take a good look at this map. How many major cities? I mean, geez, they really wanted to lock down Michigan, didn't they? They really want to make sure they brainwash Michigan, don't they? They've sure been trying down in Texas.
Sinclair owns or operates affiliates of Fox, ABC, CBS, NBC, and even Univision in areas of the country that voted for Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton by a 19-point margin on average. In March, Sinclair stations began running these must-run spots, segments that news directors absolutely have to make time for, about fake news and media bias.
Alarming. Some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
This wasn't the first time their must-run spots kicked up a little dust. In 2017, Sinclair's vice president of news, Scott Livingston, appeared in a segment reading a similar script about clumsy reporting by the national media.
National media outlets are publishing these fake news stories without fact-checking.
It aired across the country. Sinclair also produces must-run syndicated commentary from conservatives like Cheryl Atkinson.
Welcome to Full Measure.
Former Sinclair executive Mark Hyman. Also in 2017, Sinclair hired former Trump administration official Boris Epstein as its chief political analyst. His syndicated segment is called The Bottom Line.
CNN, along with other cable news networks, is struggling to stick to the facts.
Sinclair has been criticized for supporting conservative causes. During the 2004 presidential election, several Sinclair stations aired portions of a documentary critical of Democratic candidate John Kerry.
And manipulate her grief purely for the promotion of your own political agenda.
During the 2016 presidential campaign, Sinclair stations in swing states landed 15 exclusive interviews with Donald Trump.
I thought he was fantastic.
Including 11 during the final 3 months of the campaign. It also ran 10 interviews with his running mate Mike Pence. This compared to the 5 interviews Sinclair stations aired with Democratic VP candidate Tim Kaine and 0 with Hillary Clinton. Sinclair maintains that it had no special arrangement with the Trump campaign, but it was reported that Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law and key advisor, told business executives that the campaign struck a deal with Sinclair to provide access and coverage, particularly in swing states. Livingston has denied such a deal ever existed. In 2017, Sinclair announced that it was buying the Tribune Media Company and its 42 local TV stations for $3.9 billion. This would give the media
$3.9 billion. Does somebody really want to get their news message out that badly? They're going to spend damn near $4 billion to do it?
giant access to nearly 70% of the nation's TV households. Current FCC regulations cap the national
$4 billion, and we got people all over this planet that are starving. How many desalination pyramids could that have built around Africa to help them people have fresh, clean water?
Audience that any single owner can reach at 39%. But FCC Chairman Ajit Pai, who was appointed by President Trump in early 2017, has indicated that he wants to loosen TV ownership rules. Sinclair refers to its fake news spots as its journalistic responsibility campaign, and has defended it by saying they were responding to the public's distrust in the news generally, and that they serve no political agenda.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 And anyone that knows that is 100% dangerous to our democracy. Mock, 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 mock. Hi, I'm the Daily Mock. I started this project back in about 2014 as a digital newspaper. After years, it's now going on 26 years. I've been trying to wake people up, and I've been waking up through, and as far as digging and researching, to the lies in media and Operation Mockingbird. When I first started talking about Operation Mockingbird back in, like, let's say 1997, I think, is a conversation I can remember with a friend. And how I had came across some of the article stuff. Well, Bill Cooper did a segment on it. I'd caught on satellite radio, went and checked it out myself later, remembered, and went and was looking into the stuff at a library. And this is back in the day before, like, internet and stuff in the library, so you could find a book easy. And intel and stuff, and I'd been to multiple libraries and went to the main one down in Columbus and sat and read information for hours, and I was blown away that this was actually going on. And over all these years, so many people have thought I'm crazy. I don't know what I'm talking about. Don't matter how much evidence I can show people over and over and over. So maybe what needs to happen is we start mocking them. We start doing things like this, exposing Operation Mockingbird over and 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 over until we get it drilled so deep into people's heads they wake up like they've drilled their lies over and over and over and over and over until they went to sleep.
In 2016, the modern incarnation of Aktivní Meropриятия became a sophisticated multi-million-dollar social media operation using hundreds of thousands of fake accounts with the goal of dividing Americans.
But what they were really doing over time, over about 2.5 years, was facilitating tribalism. So in this particular example, Back to the Badge was an Instagram account. They also had a Facebook page. And what they were doing there was a page devoted to police officers. And the narratives that they were putting out was this notion that here's a community of people, police officers, who are sacrificing so much, who are putting their lives on the line, and they're just being treated terribly by the rest of America.
The real trick of Russian social media tactics is to take a divisive issue and play each side against the other.
And then on the other side of the narrative, the other thing that you would see in that hashtag police or hashtag cop would be stories like this. And in this particular image, you have a woman and the...
Does this all look familiar? What are we going through right now? The liberals should be cracking their heads open like, holy cow, I've been duped, I've been lied to. What would you people do? What would you people do if a person just shows up at your house uninvited, comes in, takes over your house, lies to you, tells you how to live, tells you what to do, how to eat, how to sleep, who to vote for? How would you act? Would you still keep acting like you are, like, oh, okay, I'll do what you say? or are you going to kick them the fuck out your house? Pretty sure you would kick them out your house. Like you need to do on your TV set.
The names of victims of officer-involved shootings are written kind of across her hair. And it says on the bottom we should know their names, and it's asking God justice.
Remember, both sides of this conflict were created not by Americans, but by Russians.
Are you catching the propaganda they're pushing here?
For the Russians, 2016 was just the beginning.
Whose tactics did the CIA adopt? Does this all sound familiar? Or wait, did Russia adopt the CIA tactics? Because CIA is a bit older than Russia. Not as in the age of the country, but how many of you remember in the 80s, 70s, 80s, the Russian SARS, the KGB, the fall of Mother Russia, USSR? Yeah.
Beginning. In network terms, what happened in the presidential election was that a supercluster of densely interlinked, closely followed accounts systematically disseminated fake news and extreme views on Facebook, Twitter, and the other network platforms. Facebook has since admitted that the Russians used 470 false identities and took out...
Facebook said? Since when has Facebook ever used an actual fact? Never. Ever. So anyone that believes what Zuckerberg and his liberal team have to say, you are just as brainwashed as them. Zuckerberg's a CIA agent. Wake up, you dumb fucks.
3,000 ads on Facebook and Instagram.
I think he is. Sure,
according to
like
Twitter,
sure
the Russians tweeted 2 million times in the run-up to the election.
And do this test. Many of you. Go to your Facebook. Go to settings. Where am I logged in? Setting. Betcha you're going to see you're logged in places you've never been or gone. Then look up what city it is, and then look up Central Intelligence Headquarters. I bet you're logged in there.
Yet it's important not to exaggerate the role the Russians played. In all, they probably accounted for less than 1% of all the political content online in the election year. It would be more accurate to say that the network platforms...
I will show pictures from my page where I caught them trying to spy on me.
Rather than the Russians were the decisive factor. They enabled Americans to wage information warfare on one another.
Okay. Now this is one of probably the most important things that we could hear through this video. And this is the aftermath of the church committee congressional hearing in 1975, 76. It says 76 on title, but I think it was 1975 when the CIA first started having to go to the church committee because they were asking for a unlimited budget.
I thought that it was a matter of real concern that planted stories intended to serve a national purpose abroad came home.
I'm going to back that up because I was blocking his name so people could see his name.
Real concern that planted stories intended to serve a national purpose abroad came home and were circulated here and believed here because this would mean that the CIA could manipulate the news in the United States by channeling it through some foreign country. Now, we're looking at that very carefully.
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to a major circulation American journal.
We do have people who submit pieces to American journals.
Do you have any
To American journals.
Do you
have people who submit pieces?
American journal?
We do have people who submit pieces to American journals.
American journal.
We do have people who submit pieces to American journals.
Do you have any people paid by the CIA who are working for television networks?
This, I think, gets into the kind of getting into the details, Mr. Chairman, that I'd like to get into in executive session.
At CBS, we had been contacted by the CIA. As a matter of fact, by the time I became the head of the whole news and public affairs operation in 1954, ships had been established, and I was told about them and asked if I'd carry on with them.
We have quite a lot of detailed information, and we will evaluate it, and we will include any evidence of wrongdoing or any evidence of impropriety in our final report and make recommendations.
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to the national news services, AP and UPI?
Well, again, I think we're getting into the kind of detail, Mr. Chairman, that I'd prefer to handle in executive session. The kind of detail, Mr. Chairman, that I'd prefer to handle in executive. Well, again, I think we're getting into the kind of detail, Mr. Chairman, that I'd prefer to handle in executive session.
Senator, do you think that you named the news organizations in your final report?
That remains to be decided.
I think it was entirely in order for our correspondents at that time to make use of CIA agent chiefs of station and other members of the executive staff of CIA as sources of information which were useful in their assessments of world conditions.
Would you say that continues today?
Well, I would think probably for a reporter it would continue today, but because of all of the revelations of the period of the 1970s, it seems to me that a reporter's got to be much more circumspect in doing it now, or he runs the risk of at least being looked at with considerable disfavor by the public. I think you've got to be much more careful about it.
Again, that was the Church Committee from 1975, 1976. I think it went on for quite a while. And did you hear him? I mean, I made him repeat it, how he wanted to have that in an executive session. Stuff that cannot be said on record because it's classified. Not because he wants to keep it secret. They've been so silly. No. Okay. Now here's a story some of you might remember. Listen close. Pay attention close. Pull heads out of ass. Eyes on screen. Ears on the speakers. Listen closely how liberals were duped. Do we see what this says right here? Hero Florida teacher speaks out. Get grazed by bullet while she... Listen to how many times she lies live. She don't know if she was coming or going.
Creative writing teacher Stacy Lapel's class was playing music, writing love letters when the fire alarm went off.
I have to repeat that. Let it repeat because, what?
He heard gunfire. The killing had begun.
I was about 2 feet away from
Writing teacher Stacy Lapel's class was playing music, writing love letters.
Playing music and writing love letters. Why are high school kids writing love letters in class and playing music? Are we fucking hippies? 'Cause no. The kids need to be in school learning the truth about history, not writing love letters. Not even an adult yet. And you're wanting to try and teach them about love and relationships? In their sexual orientation?
When the fire alarm went off. As students filed into the hallway, she heard gunfire. The killing had begun.
I was about 2 feet away from my door. All of a sudden I heard gunshots in the stairwell, which is about 20 feet away from my room. And then kids were screaming and then running back towards me and towards the end of the hallway. So I just went in this very strange autopilot mode where I pivoted on my feet. I unlocked my door, and then kids just started pouring in my room. I don't know how many kids were in there, but I was pulling them and getting them in and shouting at them to get in the room. And then I suddenly saw the shooter about 20 feet from me, standing at the end of the hallway, actively shooting down the hallway, just a barrage of bullets. And I'm staring at him thinking, why is the police here? This is strange, because he's in full...
Why are the police here? He's in full metal garb.
Metal garb, helmet, face mask, bulletproof armor, shooting this rifle that I've never seen before. I don't know when I decided it was the right time to close the door. I grabbed the handle with both hands, and that's when I got nicked or grazed or whatever you call it.
So a bullet hit your arm?
Yes. As I'm closing my door, I'm shouting at my next door neighbor, Mr. Scott Beagle, to close his door. And he's the kind of man that would just keep that door open a little longer. You know, he's all about the kids, you know, but he couldn't see the shooter. I had a good visual of him, which is why I yelled at him to shut his door now. I heard him shoot a barrage of bullets into Mr. Beagle's room. And then he came to my room and shot about 4 or 5 shots into my room, breaking the glass of my door. There's a rectangular piece of glass. And I heard him continuously shooting down the hallway. And I never really knew when he left because we just thought he was still there. It was so quiet, and then all of a sudden I hear helicopters outside, far, far in the distance, it seemed to me. Police officers far, far in the distance. Kids were screaming in the hallway for help. We're trained not to let anybody in the room. And I would say a good 45 minutes went by, maybe an hour, and when we heard the SWAT team come on the floor, but I still didn't trust that it was them because they were banging on the doors. Police let us in. No one got up. Or all of a sudden I heard gunshots in the stairwell, which is about 20 feet away from my room. I unlocked my door, and then kids just started pouring in my room. And then I suddenly saw the shooter. And I'm staring at him thinking, why is the police here? This is strange, because he's in full metal garb, helmet, face mask, bulletproof armor, shooting this rifle that I've never seen before. Yes. As I'm closing my door, I'm shouting at my next door neighbor, Mr. Scott Beagle. He couldn't see the shooter. I had a good visual of him, which is why I yelled at him to shut his door now. He couldn't see the shooter. I had a good visual of him, which is why I yelled at him to shut his door now. He couldn't see the shooter. I had a good visual of him, which is why I yelled at him to shut his door now. In full metal garb, helmet, face mask, bulletproof armor, shooting this rifle that I've never seen before.
We were walking the whole class together. I actually was speaking to the suspect, Nicholas Cruz. He was trouble in middle school, so I kind of joked to him about it and said, I'm surprised you weren't the one who did it. And he just gave me a huh? And the shots were coming from the other part of the building. So there definitely had to be 2 shooters involved, I believe.
We was legit, we just ran up the stairs, started shooting, and you could see a bunch of kids just going down that way, but stopping, but because the other shooter was coming. So one student told me that the shooter was wearing
Because the other shooter was coming.
a bulletproof vest and a helmet. Did you see that? I saw some other kid. When the other kid who came into the classroom, he was wearing some type of thing, and I don't know, but...
And she said that she saw this man, like, with a hat on,
and like it had two initials on it from something, and then she just watched him point the gun towards the classroom, and that's when she ducked down.
Jim Gard is a math teacher at Stoneman Douglas High School. He spoke to our Vladimir Dutier about what he witnessed yesterday.
Jim, you have an incredible story. I just want you to share that with our viewers.
About 2:20 or so, the fire alarm went off, and I thought it was rather unusual because we just had a fire alarm drill at 9:30, so I told the kids, hold on for a bit. 30 seconds or so later, one of our admins got on and said, okay, evacuate the building. And we just had all this training in everything less than maybe about 3 weeks ago or so. We heard all kinds of popping sounds. What's going on? I said, look, they could be practicing a code red. They talked about doing this. They even talked about police coming on and, shooting blanks, to see what would happen, and I said, it's kind of weird. Yeah, and that's why I said we had this drill, like I said, just a couple of weeks ago and had the training in it. And we just had all this training in everything less than maybe about 3 weeks ago or so. Shooting blanks, to see what would happen. Shooting blanks, to see what would happen. Shooting blanks, to see what would happen. Shooting blanks, to see what would happen.
Joining us now is Melissa Falkowski. Can you just describe what happened? I know you were teaching class at the time of the shooting. I know it was toward the end of the school day. Can you just walk through what happened for you and your students?
The fire alarm went off for a second time today, and so, we followed the protocol, which is to evacuate. We made it to the stairwell, and one of the security people that's posted near in my building said, no, go back, it's a code red.
They could be practicing a code red. They talked about doing this.
I went back to my room, I unlocked the door, I let the kids in. After about a minute or a minute and a half, then we all closed up our doors, and followed the procedures that we had been taught, which was to disappear, basically, is what they taught us, to move out of sight and to be silent and quiet. And after, initially I thought it was just a drill, because we had been told we would have an active shooter drill this semester, that it would be unannounced.
They could be practicing a code red. They talked about doing this.
This is strange because he's in full metal garb, helmet, face mask, bulletproof armor, shooting this rifle that I've never seen before.
We just had all this training in everything less than maybe about 3 weeks ago or so. What's going on? I said, look, they could be practicing a code red. They talked about doing this. They even talked about police coming on and shooting blanks, to see what would happen.
And after, initially I thought it was just a drill, because we had been told we would have an active shooter drill this semester, that it would be unannounced.
This next person, many of you will totally remember, and many liberals idolized this kid, thought he was the cream of the crop. Let's hear him lie. How he was not in school, he don't even go to that school, how he jumped on his bike, but you all saw his propaganda videos acting like he goes to that school. Then he claimed how he knew people personally that died. Then Slip says, no, it was just my sister's friend. Wake up, people. Little David. Take one.
Because we had a fire alarm earlier that day, and that was a drill, so we thought this was a drill too, just another one. Because we have a lot of fire alarms, a lot of fire drills at the school. After we heard the first gunshot, we initially thought it was a drill. Actually, that was a bad choice. It's okay. You're fine. Actually, that was a bad choice because the janitor... Sorry.
It's okay. You're fine, David. You're fine.
Honestly, when I was going out, I was kind of in... Hold on.
It's okay.
When I was going out, I was in shock.
Yeah, saying I don't know how to put this in perspective. It's okay.
So most of my friends that made it out, one of them went into a bathroom in the same, I believe, in the same hallway as the shooter. Oh, hold on. One of them went into the same bathroom, I believe, as the hallway shooter. He was in there at the same time, and he was in the bathroom, and he didn't know if he was going to live. So the first thing that I heard was one single gunshot. We initially thought it was a drill, but it turned out to be anything but. After we heard the first gunshot, we started heading down the way because the the person that was shooting up the school pulled the fire alarm to get more soft targets, and so we started heading towards our designated zone for the fire. Anyways, on our way there, we started seeing a bunch of people running, and we started running with those people in the opposite direction. But little did we know at the time, we were actually running towards the school shooter. But luckily for the heroic actions of one janitor and actually Chef Kurth, they saved hundreds of lives today because they stopped all the students and got them in one single room and helped save all of our lives. There were easily 30 to 40 people in one single room packed together for an hour-ish, and because of their actions, they saved.
And are they okay, David?
Yes, right now, as far as I know, when we left, they were okay. I haven't heard anything otherwise, but all the students are fine. Heroic actions. She saved easily like 60 students' lives, or however many were in that classroom.
Well, I mean, we had just recently gone through a training, and I've been through a live action shooter training at my previous school. We didn't know whether it was one shooter or two, and one of the boys that initially ran into my room was like, "There's two shooters on."
And David, your reaction was, well, you took out your camera. Why was that your instinct?
After we realized this wasn't a drill, I knew that if I was going to die with those around me, I wanted our voices to carry on and precede the ages of time, because even if our souls couldn't, our stories could still have an impact. The amount of deaths that I've had to deal with my sister having 3 of her best friends die.
So right now we're in a school, an active shooter. It's not a drill, and it's currently...
Hello?
It's 2:52.
Where are you right now?
I heard one gunshot, and we thought it was a drill initially, but it's not. Hopefully I lived through this.
At around 2:30, we heard a gunshot in my AP Environmental Science class, and we initially thought it was a drill. And then we heard more gunshots. And that was when we realized this was not a drill. This was life or death. So it's now 3:13, and we've heard supposedly it's a senior, not confirmed at all. The senior is believed to be named Nick Cruz, but this has not been confirmed. This is the latest information that we have, though. We still believe that the person has been neutralized, but we're still currently on lockdown.
We're on lockdown because there was an active shooting. We thought it was a fire drill and went outside, and then people started running because there were shots. I didn't hear them personally, and then I started running.
So
Once my phone gets dirty, I'm done recording.
So what's your message?
I really don't think there's anything new to say, but there shouldn't have to be, because if you looked around this closet and saw everyone just hiding together, you would know that this shouldn't be happening anymore, and that it doesn't deserve to happen to anyone, and that no amount of money should make it more easily accessible to get guns. And that's that. I was more well articulated in my head.
Do you want to say anything else?
No.
This is Alex View. This recording is taken at 9:32, February 14th, 2018. Alex, are you okay with me recording this?
Yes, I am okay with you recording this.
Okay.
Oh, David.
So yesterday I was in my AP Environmental Science class. We had just taken out all of our notes, and we were about to pack up to leave we were about to leave school, and we hear a pop. And it happened to be a gunshot that echoed through the hallway. And because of that, my teacher actually went and closed the door, but as soon as she closed the door, the fire alarm was pulled. So this sick man could come and get more soft targets. On the day of the shooting, I got my camera and got on my bike and rode as fast as I could 3 miles from my house to the school
story changed
to
again.
get as much video and get on as
Thought he
many
was in
interviews
class.
as I could, because I knew that this could not be another mass shooting.
So right now we're in a school, an active shooter. It's not a drill.
Because I knew that this could not be another mass shooting.
So right now we're in a school, an active shooter. It's not a drill.
The fact that these people refuse to believe that something like this could happen.
Look, it's Anderson Cooper, #1 Operation Mockingbird agent out there.
is something that all of us don't want to believe, but the sad truth.
Sitting with FBI agent. Huh. So what would that make him? Sleeper cell.
Truth is that it is. These people saying this is absolutely disturbing, and I'm not an actor in any sense, way, shape, or form. I'm the son of a former FBI agent, and that is true. But as such, it is also true that I go to Stoneman Douglas High School, and I'm the son of a former FBI agent, and that is true. I'm the son of a former FBI agent, and that is true. I'm the son of a former FBI agent, and that is true.
I thought that it was a matter of real concern that planted stories intended to serve a national purpose abroad came home and were circulated here and believed here.
Do you have any people being paid
a little bit more here.
by the CIA?
Actually, that's enough of this clip because it's long, it's drawn out. If you guys want to watch it, it's called Operation Mockingbird, CIA Scripted Media Control Program, Fake News Exposed. This lady's so cute. She's hot. She's a swinger. She swings up on this Operation Mockingbird a lot.
Or conversation threads online that are unabashedly pro-U.S. Now, I'm sure you're thinking, yes, of course. Why would that be strange? There are a lot of people out there supportive of the U.S. government engaging in conversations in the social media world. But I don't mean those people. I mean the online personas that, oddly enough, are unrelenting in their patriotic vitriol and troll for literally hours trying to debunk legitimate questions or any opposition to the establishment.
What is she talking about? Some people might ask. Oops, this one. Revealed U.S. spy operation that manipulates social media. So they're taking Operation Mockingbird and taking it to the internet through YouTube channels, many of them, definitely TV and radio, newspaper, but they're also trolling you in chat rooms to try and argue with you, to fight with you, to get you worked up, to keep spreading their lies so you can't wake people up. And we've all seen them in chat rooms because they're hell-bent Biden, Trump-hating people. They're brainwashed. Not all of them people are CIA agent Mockingbirds, but it is proof it has worked. It's hardcore proof that it's worked, that these liberals keep spreading the lies that they do. Many of them have been waking up to the fact they're spreading lies and have stopped. Many are waking up others. Lots of you are so far asleep, you haven't even a clue. And here's one of my favorite things I like that I hear liberals say. Oh, I don't watch the news or media. Okay, then well, how do you get your intel stuff? Oh, well, from friends and people who research. Well, push come to shove, they watch mainstream media and have their heads stuck way up the ass of the Mockingbird. To when they pull their head back out, all they're doing is mock, 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 mock. Everything they just watched and saw on TV, in their little newspaper, all their mainstream media. You're starting to wake up some libs. I don't hate you guys. I got lots of love for you, and I want you to wake up, because the only way we're going to have any type of unity to stop from having civil war is for you all to pull heads out of ass so we can get shit on track. The documents and the paperwork are everywhere. What is this one talking about? CIA agents caught red-handed trolling alternative media sites. Let me read that again. I mean, it's right there. CIA agents caught red-handed trolling alternative media sites in chat rooms, streamers, podcast, YouTube channels, creators. Trolling their chat rooms. They even start streaming channels. And many of you flock to them and follow them because they say, praise Jesus, praise the Lord, buy my stuff at the end of the show that I scared you into going and buying, because I stand with God. And God is your friend. I've watched many people in chat rooms feel sorry for content creators who have bank accounts full of money. Feel obligated to have to help these people. When the person even said, I have enough, I just don't want to go hungry. And I'm not one to throw out there, and I don't want no one to donate, and I don't want no one to feel sorry. Yeah, I've had to sleep in a tent 2 days this past week because of losing my place. And luckily, through some prayers from a good friend, Green Bay Wacky, just miraculously some stuff fell back in place and was able to save some things. Bill's tight, ain't ate in a few days, not even hungry, too stressed, don't care, don't want donations, don't want no money, just want people to wake up. Our society is crumbling faster than it has ever before. And it is sad. If we don't get unity for real, we are going to fall as a world society.
Sometimes it almost seems like these people might even be getting paid to do it. I mean, how else could they expel that insane amount of time and energy on these comment threads trying to argue how wrong you are? Well,
how many times that happened in certain people's chat rooms? When we know damn well they're fucking paid government agents trying to scare you into putting on a mask.
this might be old news to some, but last year it was confirmed that
they even brainwashed their own parents.
The U.S. military has been manipulating social media by using fake identities to influence conversations and spread pro-American propaganda. It's called Online Persona Management Services. And under the CENTCOM contract, it allows the creation of up to 10 sock puppet accounts for every U.S. serviceman or woman working on the program. The stipulations are that every fake persona must have a convincing background, history, and supporting friend networks so that it will remain
If you guys want to snag the chest there on D-Live, I always forget to do the thing. There ain't much in it, but, you know, grab them.
Detectable from even the most sophisticated adversaries. According to The Guardian, the project has been likened by web experts to China's attempts to control and restrict free speech on the internet. and that critics are saying that it allows the U.S. military to create a false consensus in online conversations, crowd out unwelcome opinions, and smother commentaries or reports that do not correspond with its own objectives. Now, of course, according to CENTCOM, their only objective is to counter violent extremists and enemy propaganda outside of the U.S., and that it would be unlawful to address U.S. audiences with the technology. Wow, unlawful, really? Interesting, because the new...
Now what she's about to get into. Our dear old friend Obama did to America. And not only America, to the entire world. NDAA, Smith-Mundt Act. It made it legal for them to lie to you on news media to persuade who you vote for, who you feel about, how you think, how you drink, what you eat, what you drive. The brainwash is insane. People need to wake up. For real. Not just, oh, I know about it. You need to start mocking, repeating, getting the liberals awake, dig up the intel, show them this video if you want. I'm going to save it on YouTube, and then I'm going to upload it over to my own website. So if it is ever taken down, it can be found there on firstamendmentmedia.live. No one's going to take anything down from my website.
The newest version of the 2013 NDAA included an interesting amendment. This amendment legalized domestic propaganda on the American public. You heard me right. The newest NDAA wasn't just reauthorizing the indefinite detention of American citizens. It also allowed the U.S. government to legally carry out misinformation campaigns against the citizens of this country. But is this really surprising to anyone? I mean, the corporate media is basically a propaganda arm of the U.S. government anyways, isn't it? Why the need to legalize the use of propaganda when you already have an entire mainstream media establishment lacking to the White House, reprinting government press releases without question, selling wars, and carrying water for the administration? In fact, aside from everything I just mentioned, the Pentagon already spends $4 billion a year to influence public opinion, and the Department of Defense also spends hundreds of millions of dollars on information campaigns in countless countries occupied by the U.S. military.
Did we just catch how much money she just said? And how many starving people are around the world? And yet these news media people think they care for you. And you think they care for you and what you think.
But perhaps even more disturbing than all of this is the fact that the CIA has already been infiltrating the biggest press institutions since the early 1950s. One has to look no further than Operation Mockingbird, a secret CIA campaign to spread disinformation and false stories to foreign governments during the Cold War. It did this by manipulating the media into focusing on propaganda, sabotage, and subversion. It was later revealed in congressional hearings that the CIA program consisted of literally paying off editors and reporters at most mainstream news outlets. The New York Times, CBS, Time, The Washington Post, Newsweek, AP, Reuters, and countless more. In one instance, a journalist named Joseph Alsop, who's alleged to have been one of the most prominent journalists working under Operation Mockingbird, wrote foreign affairs articles that appeared in over 300 publications. So, isn't it nice to know that the supposed watchdogs of the government can be so easily bought? Even though the intent of this program was to focus on matters outside of this country, it undoubtedly influenced everyone living here at the time. People to this day could still be reading and referencing these articles, not knowing that they're completely fake. And sure, this is more than 50 years ago, but let's face the facts here. our media is much worse now and has been much more easily compromised now. So how do we know that Operation Mockingbird still isn't in effect? Well, we don't. So, the next time you sit down to read the Sunday paper or visit an online forum, just remember, don't believe everything you read.
And always remember, everything on the internet must be a lie. Everything must be a lie. Go back to the mainstream media and all their books. They must be the truth. Just ask any liberal. Everything on the internet's a lie. Oh, what is this? What? Here's something that's going to get to you. How... Actually, I might skip this one. Yeah, let's go to this one. Mr. CIA agent Anderson Cooper confronted. No, he's
guards
not.
And hide in their cars. Anderson Cooper has 8 security guards here. 8.
The police is allowing themselves to be here.
Yeah.
And that, oh, hello. Oh, thank you.
Used by government officials. Are you silent about this because of your CIA past, Anderson? Is it because you were in the CIA during college, Anderson? Can we get just one statement from you?
That's what Anderson does, like, every time he's confronted on it. All of a sudden, the most talkative man on the news that's got so much to say don't have nothing to say to you. Whoa, wait.
Working its way through Congress. The version that passed the House last week included $8 billion more than required, thanks to Republicans, as well as provisions banning same-sex.
Yeah, thanks to Republicans. It's all just the Republicans' fault. Republicans.
Marriage ceremonies on military installations, and continuing the ban on transfers of Gitmo detainees to U.S. soil. Now, the White House even issued a veto threat for these reasons, but the House passed it anyway. There's also been a battle over amendments attempting to either overturn or limit last year's provision, which allows for indefinite detention, including that of U.S. citizens. While all of that stuff has been publicized, there's another amendment out there that almost slipped by under the radar. Introduced by Representatives Adam Smith and Mac Thornberry, bipartisan team, the amendment aims to strike down a ban on the dissemination of propaganda by the State Department and the Broadcasting Board of Governors on domestic audiences. Now, some say this is creeping fascism. Others try to claim that it offers transparency. So joining me to discuss it is Michael Hastings, Rolling Stone contributing editor and author of the new book, The Operators, the wild and terrifying inside story of America's war in Afghanistan. Michael, thanks for coming back on the show tonight.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well, but I'm curious to hear, what you have to say on this. You're the first one that did this story. You got the scoop. Obviously, you thought it was important enough to write about. Would you go as far as...
Just letting her play some of that. He gets into the whole thing about the Smith-Munn Act, which we're getting to. Now, this is very important to hear. This is from February 12th this year.
HR 5811, the TSA Personnel Workplace Improvement Act of 2020, HR 5822, the Homeland Security Acquisition Professional Career Program Act, HR 5823, the State and Local Cybersecurity Improvement Act, HR 5824, the Federal Law Enforcement Training, Research, and Reporting Act of 2020, HR 5828, the DHS Illicit Cross-Border Tunnel Defense Act, Senate 2035, the TSA Credential and Endorsement Harmonization Act of 2019. The chair wishes to announce that to the extent practicable, it is my intention to take any recorded votes as they are requested and to not roll votes, and that the chair may recess the committee at any point. Without objection, so ordered. I now recognize myself for an opening statement. Today, we will be considering 10 timely measures to improve DHS's effectiveness and support state and local partners and in its own operation. The State and Local Cybersecurity Improvement Act, as introduced by Cybersecurity Subcommittee Chairman Richmond, would establish a new grant program to help states build up cyber capabilities. This important bill recognizes that states need a full partner at DHS to help them address costly cybersecurity attacks, including ransomware attacks that have grown in sophistication and frequency. The Transnational White Supremacist Extremism Review Act, as introduced by Intelligence Subcommittee Chairman Rose, directs DHS to take a hard look at the intersection of foreign white supremacist extremist groups and white supremacist extremist groups in the U.S. And
what's he saying? They're going to just start declaring who or what are white supremacists? What about black supremacy? That's a thing. There's lots of black people that totally hate white people. I'm not cool with any racism, but it's there. Why don't we just nip supremacy in the butt? That's right, because the Supreme Court ruled that racism does not exist, only hate crimes. You have the freedom of speech and the freedom of choice to hate anyone you want. Don't make it right, don't make it cool. There is no such thing as hate speech, only hate crime.
Share what they learned with state and local.
Do you want the Supreme Court stuff? I mean, anyone can Google that and go and look. Supreme Court rules, no hate speech. See what you find.
Local law enforcement. Over the past year, the evidence has started to pile up to support the conclusion that the tactics used by foreign groups to train, recruit, inspire, and support Americans who have an interest in carrying out attacks is not all different than what we've seen with Al-Qaeda and ISIL.
Who's he referring there to without specifically saying it right there? Antifa.
I commend Chairman Rose for introducing this critical measure. Another bill targeted at supporting state and local partners was introduced by committee's Vice Chair, Representative Underwood. The Safe Communities Act of 2020 directs CISA to enhance its efforts to get timely security guidance, best practices, and other related infrastructure security materials to infrastructure owners and operators. One feature of the related infrastructure security materials to infrastructure owners and operators.
Website owners.
One feature of the bill that I think holds a lot of promise is the provision calling on CISA to pilot a train-the-trainer program on how to perform security vulnerabilities and terrorism risk assessment. We also will be considering measures to address certain operational challenges within DHS. Though through his oversight work into conditions within TSA, Transportation and Maritime Subcommittee Chairman Correa has taken to heart the child care struggles of so many who serve on the front lines and has partnered with Representative Katko to produce a pair of bills that we will be considering today that seek to improve access to child care for the screening workforce. These measures, together with H.R. 1140, which the committee recently approved to grant the screening workforce the same benefits, rights, and protections as other federal employees, will really make a difference at TSA. We also will be considering a bill that was introduced by Oversight and Management Subcommittee Chair Torres Small. The Federal Law Enforcement Training, Research, and Reporting Act of 2020 was informed by her subcommittee's oversight findings regarding the need for all DHS law enforcement basic training programs to be accredited. I'm particularly pleased that her bill encourages DHS to do more to make its active shooter and other trainings available to state and local law enforcement in rural and remote areas. I'm also pleased.
I have to rewind that. I think he may have misspoke on something, but did he just say to have more active shooters? I'm sure he misspoke. Had to have.
That her bill encourages DHS to do more to make its active shooter and other trainings available to
make its active shooter and other trainings available. Okay.
State and local law enforcement in rural and remote areas. I'm also pleased that we will be considering the TSA Credential and Endorsement Harmonization Act of 2020 as introduced by Senator Tammy Duckworth, which would help TWIC and HME holders get included in TSA's pre-check program. Before I yield back, I'd like to take a moment to react to the President's budget request. It is troubling that even as we work here today to strengthen DHS's operation, the President is pushing for a budget that would cut $700 million in Homeland Security grants to state and local governments' needs.
$700 million. He's cutting $700 million away. Gee, I wonder why. I mean, sounds like you're trying to just declare anyone a supremacist or a terrorist. And, yeah,
It'll also cut $250 million from CISA, which would severely curtail its cyber operations and completely defund its programs to secure chemical plants from terrorism and sever the bonds between the U.S. Secret Service and the rest of DHS by irresponsibly transferring it to the Treasury Department. I urge my colleagues to join me in rejecting the President's budget and supporting the bills before us today.
What needs to be done in this country to mend everything around the world, and like cutting budgets from places like this, yes, those budgets need to be cut so we can pay back the people we fucked over and tried to take over their country, help them get back on track, and our government and government officials and central intelligence and agencies suffer for the actions of those before them. Sorry, I know it's not your fault, but yeah, it is. You're a part of it and you're helping it now. I think we need to gut them all, hire in all new. I'll get to that in a bit.
With that, I now recognize the ranking member of the committee, Mr. Rogers, for an opening statement.
No, I'm not going to play his. I should have just jumped into the next video here. This one is called Markup HR 576 5780 5802 5804 and others. These are all this is in 40 minutes they cover a lot of things, and everybody needs to watch this. How many of you even knew this was out there for Homeland Security before the riots? Before coronavirus, they're talking about how they need to do what? they're basically saying, what I see is that they're going to declare whoever they want as an enemy and label you as a terrorist or a racist. Because that's the new thing nowadays. Instead of labeling you a terrorist, they'll label you a racist. Wait. This is another good video for people.
Radio Free Europe.
See, it's called Government-Funded Broadcast Organizations Use Facebook to Direct Ads at Americans. This was 2 years ago.
All right, Facebook is being accused of allowing a federal U.S. government-funded broadcast organization to target ads to Americans. The New York Times reports Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, bought several ads recently that included trending topics like Russia and NATO. The Times.
What have we been seeing all over Facebook the past few years? Non-stop Trump hate.
Says it is mostly restricted by law from promoting its content in the United States. Now, the U.S.-funded broadcaster was created during the Cold War to fight back against Soviet propaganda while continuing to promote American interest abroad. It now reportedly airs mainly to audiences in Europe and the Middle East. Jennifer Greigel is an assistant professor of communications at Syracuse University's Newhouse School of Public Communications. Jennifer joins us now. Thank you so much for being us.
Thank you.
In the streets, we say you got skills. This was pretty cool that you were able to, sort of uncover this. Tell us about the content and how you came about it.
Sure. I was out looking for examples of when U.S. state-funded media might be improperly targeting U.S. Americans and seeking to build what we call or cultivate an audience here. There was a modernization of a law back in 2013.
I am going to say she's pretty handsome.
That allowed for domestic dissemination of state-funded media. But that does not allow them to actively market and push this content. That would be considered propaganda. So I went out and I was looking on Facebook. That's my specialty, social media. And with the opening of the new Facebook political ads, I was able to see that indeed an entity under what's called the BBG, or the Broadcasting Board of Governors, which is run by the United States, was indeed targeting United States and U.S. essentially citizens with content that they created. So that would be kind of what I believe in potential violation of what's called the Smith-Mundt Act.
And I'm almost certain there are some people out there who are not happy about the work that you've done.
Well, I would say that it's not an issue of should people be happy or not. What we need to understand as a public here, and especially in the United States, is that there's a real risk in state-funded media being disseminated amongst American citizens. And it should not
to manipulate votes, ways of thinking, ways of life, and lifestyle.
Be directly competing with the free press or the independent press, just like here at CBS, NBC, CNN, New York Times. There's risk in that. And so I think it's really important for the public to know that this is happening, and for Congress to take a look at this to make sure that Facebook is not being abused by the U.S. State Department.
Are the ads still up?
The ads were actually pulled down after the New York Times presented my research to the state and to the BBG, to the Board of Governors, and then they pulled this down.
All right, 87 million Facebook users were affected by the data breach during the Cambridge Analytica scandal. Do we know how many people these ads would have reached?
No, Facebook's political ads database doesn't say how far the reach was, just that the State Department essentially was targeting Americans with this content. So all I can tell you is that propaganda essentially was spread here in the United States. I can't tell you how many people or how much of our tax dollars were actually spent on Facebook ads essentially to spread this domestic agenda.
All right, we do want to point out that a spokesperson for the agency overseeing state-funded media organizations said that the agency recently appointed a new chief technology officer. Could this ad targeting just be a mistake, or is it intentional?
Absolutely not a mistake. And I think if you read their statement closely, they actually were trying to justify the targeting of the United States. They were saying that people abroad are trying to access free information, maybe they're in oppressed countries, and essentially they're VPNing in to look like they're coming from the United States to see this content, right? But what that is them actually saying this was strategic. we did this because we felt that we needed to reach people this way. But that's outside their purview. We really need Congress to weigh in and say, hey, you can actually target Americans, because that is not within the original intent of this law.
And you discovered these ads on Facebook. Could other companies be in jeopardy? Could they be in trouble?
Absolutely, and we just don't know, because Twitter, YouTube, and others have not disclosed political ads in the same way, and it's really important for our Congress right now to get in there and see what type of ads are being disseminated and kind of broadcast here to U.S. citizens.
And it's no secret that Facebook has faced growing pressure from a number of people to eliminate propaganda and misinformation from its platform. What's next for the social network going forward?
They've been really focused on trying to figure out how to categorize the free press, the independent press. But my point here today is, what is Facebook doing to actually look at state-funded media on their platform? How are they labeling it? A lot of these entities don't have appropriate attribution, as it's called. One company, YouTube News, is the only company so far that is disclosing state-funded media. You'll see it run underneath YouTube videos. I would like to see this type of enhancement brought to Twitter and Facebook as well, and they really need to get on top of this. This is something that can impact our democracy here.
She's right. They need to crack down on the mainstream media. They won't, though. Why? Oh, yeah, because they're all part of the same organization, right? We've been learning that so far.
Is this something that can be corrected right away, or will it take years to fix?
They rolled.
How many billions? We don't even know for sure how much budget they have to do this to the media and to the American people and to the world. It's not just American people. They lie to Canadians. They lie to everybody else. Everybody else. No wonder the rest of the world doesn't trust America government. They lie. And they have organizations like this and fund organizations like this.
Rolled out enhancements in their political ads database pretty quickly, so I think that this company could, Facebook Incorporated especially, could attribute state-funded media pretty quickly. Also, I would like them to log every single ad created by a state-funded entity into the political ads database, because it is created by the government. It's not created by an independent media organization, so no filtering is needed. Just put it all in the political ads database, because the stuff that I saw, you can no longer see. It's been pulled down unless it hit a filter and it was categorized by Facebook as being political, unless it had a keyword like politics or running for office or things like that.
And a final question for you. With your expertise, do you have any concerns with the midterm elections coming up and how this could be applied or used?
The research that I just brought to market shows that the U.S. government could be spreading more propaganda here in the United States.
The U.S. government?
U.S. government. So yes, I do think it's material to the midterms, and I think Congress should get right on top of this. I do.
All right, Jennifer Grieg.
Wow. Just remember, everyone, this is the most important election of your life.
Take a look.
This is the most important election in the history of our country.
This election is the most important in the modern history of this country.
The election in 2020, without hyperbole, is going to be the most important election this country has undergone in over 100 years. Not a joke.
This November's elections are more important than any I can remember in my lifetime, and that includes when I was on the ballot.
There are just 8 days left in what is the most important election of our lifetimes.
This will be maybe the most important election that our country's ever had.
There's never been a more important tomorrow in modern electoral history in the United States than tomorrow, and that's not hyperbole. We know what is on the line and what is a truly most important election of our lifetime. Has anybody ever said that to you before?
This election is the most important election in our lifetimes, no matter what generation you come from.
I truly believe this is the most important election of our lifetimes.
This is, I think, going to be
the Facebook up there?
The most important election.
How many remember how much Facebook pushed Obama? Pushed him.
Election that we've ever had.
Really one of the most important elections in American history.
In every campaign, they tell you the same thing. This is the most important election in a generation, the most important election in our lifetime. This one truly is.
2008 is the most important election in our lifetime.
This is certainly the most important election in my life.
I think in many ways this election is more important than any since 1932, or certainly almost any in this century.
Perhaps, as Senator Kennedy has already indicated, the most important election in our history.
Never in the history of the country has it been as necessary for the Democrats to win an election as it is now.
You are faced with a great decision on Tuesday, the most important decision, in my opinion, that's faced the country since the Civil War.
We face one of the great choices of history.
Just non-stop, isn't it, people? Those who want, over on archives.org, get over there and look up Family Jewels, full documents for Operation Mockingbird. It's insane about how much intel is over here in this, and here in a second I'm going to jump through a few of them just to pinpoint you and help you get going. The very first one's already talking about who? Oh, Anderson Cooper. Who's this with him? Can't remember her name offhand, actually. Judith Miller. Another CIA agent. Big Democrat. And how this is all talking about like how they helped persuade, you guessed it. Here, I'm gonna go back to the page that said it. Said it helped them persuade Nazi Germany, the Russian Revolution, Cold War, Afghanistan, Iraq, techniques of propaganda generation, social psychological researches that are used to generate propaganda. What's the best way to have a propaganda is to tell other people, like, we're fact checking, that's a lie, this is the truth. You know how many people run for that? Like, oh, it must be the truth, they said it. They put you on the bandwagon. This breaks this all down, what you are, what you mean to them. Okay. Here's a whole bunch of documents on the Project Mockingbird to be a part of Operation Mockingbird to tap journalists who were not in their clique. You can go and look through this one yourself too. It's only 8 pages. Good read. Here's one that gets a whole lot of stuff. It's 703 pages. Very interesting read. This is the one that's called The Family Jewels. It's the one that's got lots of intel, lots of information. I'm still reading through it and stuff, so as you can see, a lot of pages are whited out because they don't want you to really know what was said there, but they were forced to declassify, so they keep things secret. That's not declassification then. You're still hiding secrets, which are lies. So you're lying to us more and still. Definitely a good read for people to come and check out. Those who like to read and those who got the time to flip through. Well, it's probably only about 500 pages that you can look at, because there's probably about 200 pages whited out. And then in certain names, that's funny how they're like just missing. A little white block, like, oh, Mr. Blank. Wait a minute. Subverting the media. This is another one of them that's in there that's a good one to read. It's really, really short. Kind of breaks down some of the other stuff may have already read. So for some people that want the just quick version, this may be the one to click on. See, the CIA journalism. That's another one to look into and look through. Another short, quick read. And then Church Committee Investigations is in here about it in 1976 with George H.W. Bush, recently appointed director of CIA, announced that the new policy, effective immediately, the CIA will not enter into any paid or contract relationships with any full-time or part-time news correspondents accredited by the U.S. by any U.S. news service, newspapers, periodical, radio, television, or stations. However, he added that the CIA would continue to welcome the voluntary unpaid cooperations. How many people really buy that they would have ended it like that with how much invested? And I've shown how much evidence over the years, so all these news people are willingly to join. So maybe they're just willingly given some money and tips and nice cars and promoted into nice positions. See how it works? You give, I give. Scratch my back, I scratch your back. No paper trails. That's how it works. And then prisonplanet.com, actually, I'm surprised this stuff made in here. It's a 3-page, but Alex likes to cram shit together, so. And here's the one that's the written version, close to that video we were showing. But hey, let's look who corporations with grinning double-breasted executives, interlocking directorates, labor squabbles, and flying capital. Dow. Who controls the media? Is what it's getting into. Dow. GE, General Electric. Oh wow, Coca-Cola. Disney. That's one to not even get into, and another time. But yes, Disney has been a part of that cult for a long time and used their cartoons to manipulate your kids' thinking. These names look a little familiar to some people. Philip Graham. Ooh, Alan Dulles. He will always pop up throughout this stuff. Hale Boggs. It's a name I can't remember exactly what he was, but he was not the best of people on this planet. The name rings a bell, though. Some people can pause this and the parts you want and read through if you were wanting to, or just go to that website that's been listed up top there for a minute, and you can write it down or pull, or maybe I can remember and go and drop it in descriptions for people, and maybe I'll do that. I'll watch it back and drop some descriptions in there for people so you can get the intel that you want. Subverting of the America Free Press by the CIA. This is one of them. It's off rents.com. I actually like a lot of Rents's stuff, like the way they seem to do like extensive research into stuff. And like I've double checked in a lot of things that I've seen in their stuff, like the House of Rothschilds. That's something I'm going to end off on here, is to show people who and what family started and created all this. Because the CIA was started by CFR, Council of Foreign Relations, which was started by the Zionist family known as the Rothschilds, who started Zionism. They started it. It was not been around since the Bible, and its whole meaning was to infiltrate the Jews. Make the world hate the Jews. For real. Look into it. Look it up. Why do you think real Jews in those areas are always mad at them? They don't even want them there. The Jews and Muslims, from what I've always seen, and I know two friends, one's a Jew, one's a Muslim, they get along great. For real. Like, they don't throw rocks at each other because they're not brainwashed. They know who the enemy is. See if I can looking for another piece here. Oh shit, sorry iCar. I didn't see you over there in Twitter. For some reason my restream, I guess, is not showing any stuff. That's messed up. Just insanity. It's just been going on and going on and going on, and this is one of the reasons why I like Barr, because Barr does not like putting up with this shit. Bill Barr, he is constantly trying to expose the media lies, Trump. And this is where I'm going to get in towards the ending of it, is how do we know who the CIA agent's propaganda machine is? The non-stop Trump bashers, the haters that have created lies. We've heard Obama make racist comments about white people and other races. We've heard Joe Biden in the past make comments that are racist in the past. Never once Trump. All of my Democrat friends are racist. I've heard them drop the N-word in a full, mean, derogatory way. Never once from one of my Republican friends, because we believe in unity. Oh yeah, who started the Republican Party? The brothers. Look that up if you didn't know. Who started the Democratic Party? Jefferson's little cronies. He was part of it. Jefferson wasn't an Illuminati character. Washington warned us about him in his farewell address letter. George Washington left Freemasonry, got baptized, stood with Christianity, not the Catholic Church. And how did our founders keep the Catholic Church from just its claws in for so long? Freedom of religion. Gave you the freedom of religion so you weren't living under a king rule. So if we got a president that decided I'm going to believe in this religion, and well, the rest of the country is too. That's why we have freedom of religion in this country, and in ways it sucks. Because we got Satanist, Wicca. You got a lot of false groups and organizations, when you follow back, lead you to Aleister Crowley, another Illuminati character. Look it up. I'm not going to do all the research for people because you need to have your own mind and free thinking. Links will be up. Come prove me wrong. You're welcome to. I've heard many, many people claim they're woke, quoting and promoting Aleister Crowley in the Illuminati agenda. I don't know how many times I've heard other people quoting so-called big YouTubers who hate Trump about how, because they've released some intel that's true, but no, they're still lying to you and making you think Trump's a racist and out to take over this world. He was the last man with the power in this world to help the world. News media said he was going to nuke the world, push the buttons, cause all these wars. I think he's ended a lot of wars. There's some lies on the media. The racist stuff. If he really said something that was racist, it'd be all over the internet. You would made sure everybody saw it. They don't have it. They never have. They've been waiting for it. He's not racist. Look back in the 80s, 70s and 80s when he was helping Rosa Parks and the black communities and Muhammad Ali and those people. Did he just all of a sudden change over time and became racist? Anybody who's a successful businessman will tell you being racist would be the dumbest thing you could ever do. Dumbest thing anyone could ever do. So do you think a billionaire is just going to be a racist pig like media's made out? Not logical. Not logical. You don't make billions being racist. Let's see a billionaire out there who's made billions from being racist. It's sad. Here's with Obama passing the NDAA, Smith-Mundt Act, Operation Mockingbird, bringing it back into full force, making it legal to lie to you on news media. Why do you think all of a sudden it was bash, bash, lie, lie about Trump? Here's something they did to George Bush. Claimed George Bush was racist. So instead of standing outside his place picketing, they had people show up in KKK outfits promoting Bush so it would look like the KKK promoted Bush. How many times have we seen that through the media? Fake Klansmen. Who, anybody out there, do you know a real Klansman that is not attached to some type of intelligence agency? I bet you fucking don't. You might claim you do, or someone might have claimed they did. Which was started by who? Albert Pike, an Illuminati figure from Freemasonry, who, look into him, tried to even warn us before he left this planet to not fall to the deceptions he created. Many of you remember back in 2013 when it allows government officials to decimate in the United States news and information programs produced by the government at taxpayers' expense for audience abroad. Do you need more proof the news and mainstream media lie to you? Do you? Do you need a crash course in fake media and everything in their paperwork always says new left movement, hard left movement, left movement. Lefties don't understand what pawns you are being used as. Going to get into that in a minute too, where you've became the useless pawns to not a revolution. You're helping the enemy overthrow the world and lock it into worse than communism. Communism is communal living, keeping people in small groups and areas. You think you're bitching about border walls now? Look back into Pennsylvania and what was called the burned over district, and about its communist movement in America and how it started and everything about it and its radicalization of religions, propaganda, and media. Back then, in early starting of America. It's been here that long. It was here before we became a country. Because remember, United Kingdom, 13 colonies. Washington, 1776. It was here before. So when I'm getting at to where the lefties are becoming the useful pawns and you're being controlled and manipulated and brainwashed into hating your fellow Americans, your family, your friends, and I'm very even guilty of it because I've hit a point I don't have the patience for a lot of the liberalism anymore, and neither do a lot of Americans. And we're tired of the lies. We're tired of the deception. We're tired of the chaos. We're tired of the bullshit. Do not awaken the silent giant in America. You awaken that silent beast, this world will never be the same again. There's a lot of people out there that took an oath to defend this country at all costs. They have toured around the world to help fight off real, actual terrorists. Not all the wars have been a hoax. If you don't understand about Iran, and before all that happened to it, I suggest you do. When they were our ally, and how strong of an ally they were. When our Central Intelligence didn't pay attention to that region, and they were overthrown by a Muslim Brotherhood regime that did not stand with the Muslim Brotherhood. They just claimed they did. Because anyone that knows that has met a real Muslim in the world, you know they're not vicious, mean people, and they don't hate you because you're white. Radicals, yeah, radical anything is going to hate you for just because you're not them. Doesn't matter what they're radicalizing with, they're just radicals. So it don't matter. You're not them. You're the fascist. So put the hooks in. Sad. The Hatch Act allows most federal employees to actively participate in political activities on their own time and outside of the federal workplace. There are, however, significant restrictions on funding and running for office and participation of elections and one's official authority in the political arena. So since they can't run, they can manipulate in their own time, as long as they're off the clock. Okay, first off, That should be bullshit. If you're a government employee and you're taking an oath, you lose your free time while contracted. That's my thoughts. That's the way it should be. You're not allowed to do things against the American people in your free time. Then why are you in your job working for the government? If you hate us to the point you're going to lie to us and manipulate us, you're a terrorist. You're terrorizing people for political views. How many remember this story? This is back. I totally forgot about it. Sex trafficking, drug smuggling, Operation Mockingbird. It's all in his phone. Alleged mob boss killer tells judge. Yeah. Any of you remember this one? Where this guy killed Frankie Boy? This dude was fighting against Operation Mockingbird. Family Jewels. I wonder if I can remember what page that was. I want to jump to real quick. Is at the request of the mid-1972, the U.S. attorney reportedly was under threat of assassination by organized criminal elements. Yeah, I'm jumping, because I'm trying to find the part where I don't want to even say the wrong thing. I don't remember the damn page number. I thought I memorized it. But this is one that Family Jewels for people to go and read, and you can go up here and click download it, put it on your device, skim through it, read it as you want, when you want, mark your pages. It's one that you can highlight text, but I think if you try and tell a reader to start reading, I'm kind of curious if the reader will read through that, because see, go down through this, and it's like hit Control C. Let's do it under this. From elements down. Scroll down a little bit. See if it reads the text under it. No, it's encrypted. Maybe not all of them. Someone wants to spend the time to do that, you might find something you want, like click and highlight, copy it, click paste. No, it's encrypted. Sometimes you can do that though on some of these documents, because they like put the boxes on after the upload or whatever. Some of them they just put white tape over them when they had printed them off. But this one definitely not. It's an old PDF. But there's a thing I'm sure not many people have heard about, and what the lefties are being used for, which is called Rex 84. Those that don't know what Rex 84 is well,
Reagan was elected to the presidency, he installed Louis Giuffrida as head of FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Giuffrida was an old cold warrior from Reagan's California days whose specialty was suppression of unrest and dissent. Giuffrida, North, and George Bush began to turn FEMA into an instrument of domestic anti-terrorism.
you're dealing with a group of people in the Reagan administration who equated political dissent with treason, and who cannot differentiate between emergency procedures, which I think everyone agrees are necessary, and suppressing political dissent. And with North and Poindexter and Casey, you had a group of people who saw Americans who disagree with them as the enemy.
Colonel North, in your work at the NSC, were you not assigned at one time to work on plans for the continuity of government in the event of a major disaster?
Mr. Chairman, I believe that question touches upon a highly sensitive and classified area, so may I request that you not touch upon that, sir.
I was particularly concerned, Mr. Chairman, because I read in Miami papers and several others that there had been a plan developed by that same agency, a contingency plan in the event of emergency that would suspend the American Constitution. And I was deeply concerned about it and wondered if that was the area in which he had worked. I believe that it was, but I wanted to get his
May I most
confirmation.
respectfully request that that matter not be touched upon at this stage. If we wish to get into this, certain arrangements can be made for an executive session.
And tragically, the only member who got close was Jack Brooks, and he was stopped by the chairman.
This shit, I tell you. Well, since it's just going to play music, I'll play my own music. I ain't going to play theirs. If I click the right spot. This is an old footage of it. I was just letting it play with a little bit of music there. But Rex 84 is a readiness exercise, 1984, which the government and them had planned or started to exercise that there's a chance that the black and Mexican population would revolt and start going around rioting and killing and stuff, you know, like kind of like what we have going on now. And over the time, Rex 84 has progressed to not just picking at races. They've lured in political lefties, liberals. They've pulled you guys in to be pawns to try and create a scenario, real scenario, so they could round people up. Both sides. You're not going to be innocent. You're not fighting for the cause. Oh, sad. And they're going to be rounded up, slammed into their little cages, and it's going to be chaos all over. I don't want to play anything with Alex on it. But here's some stuff that'll be interesting for people to look at here. Let's look at some things, a recent Operation Mockingbird NDAA and the works. Recently, like real recently. Let's check it out.
Win in the state of Pennsylvania. He will now become the president in January, pending the outcome. Joe Biden has won the American presidential election. The BBC projects that he's crossed the threshold of 270 electoral college votes needed with a win in the state of Pennsylvania.
Joe Biden has won the American presidential election. The BBC projects that he has reached 270 electoral college votes.
Today, Lester Holt and Savannah Guthrie in New York, the moment the entire country has been waiting for after a very close race. NBC News now projects that Joe Biden has won the Keystone State, Pennsylvania, and its 20 electoral votes.
After 4 long, tense days, we've reached a historic moment in this election. We can now project the winner of the presidential race. CNN projects Joseph R. Biden Jr. is elected the 46th president.
That happened since 1992, and President George H.
The Fox News decision desk can now project that former Vice President Joe Biden will win Pennsylvania and Nevada, putting him over the 270 electoral votes he needs to
for results from the state of Arizona.
This is an ABC News election update. Now reporting Chief Anchor George Stephanopoulos.
Good morning. We have breaking news results from the state of Pennsylvania. Those results are in right now, and based on what we are seeing there, we can say that Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. is on track to win the state of Pennsylvania, become the 46th president of the United States. Joe Biden will have at least 270.
In New York, the moment the entire country has been.
Yeah, they all jumped the gun to run and tell you what they wanted you to think. No election officials called the race. The media did. The media, not election officials who were still counting votes. They have 30 days. Normally we can maybe kind of tell in there before they finish off, which I don't think any election should have ever been called before all votes counted 3 times in a row. And I think the ending people who should count is the United States military, as they take an oath to protect this country, and it should go through a team. Just a theory. So yeah, the goodies that are going on in this world, and with these liberals and people are not seeing, is you're being rounded up into being useful pawns. You are going to be used to bring, you couldn't even imagine what's coming for you, and what the government, the intelligence agencies have used you to do. I'm not going to play an ain't on, but yeah, it's real. Have you ever heard of the FEMA trains? Do you need to see some of those that are supposedly being put back on tracks? Oh, here's one of the FEMA coffin sites for you. That's what they call it. These are jail cells, stacked and packed. Here's your FEMA train. One, 2, 3 floor trains. Been taking out bridges all over, or prepared to when time comes to move that around the country. In Atlanta, Georgia. These are RVs where they plan on communal living people who they choose can live because you comply. Here's another another glimpse of the trains. Why don't you people look up on Joe Biden in Rex 84? Of course, fake news. Find where Biden's helped some of these laws along the way for Rex 84. Here, and what about this one? Can you read it? During Biden's 4-day tour of Rex 84 FEMA camps, Biden was given demonstrations of fully modern and humane guillotines. All the little, oh, it's fake. Actually, you can actually look up into the stuff that he's done with FEMA. It's not fake. We could be spending all kinds of time here. I'm going to do other videos on that with Joe Biden and FEMA. People, they don't know what's coming. All this insanely horrible weather around America this year? Tell me weather machines don't exist. On top of what our sun has been doing and our atmosphere changing, our poles meeting and bringing 100 whales out of the oceans. They saved them all, got them back in the ocean. Yes, that stuff definitely causes some chaos in that, but what's been going on with China the beginning of this year with that, and I've done videos in the past showing who Sarah Keep is, the inventor who created coronavirus and sold it to Chiron, who later sold it to Prebright, who is partnered with Bill Gates and China and Biden. Why are all the commies banding together to hate on America and Trump? Conform, conform, conform. Well, that's probably going to be to a point where I'm going to end off this stream, take a break, maybe eat a little bit, and then I'm going to probably kick up another stream on another topic. So, yeah. You all have such great days. Stay out of trouble. Stay strong. And keep going. Oh, shoot. I didn't even... How did... My bad, I missed that. I had the float app pop out under the other window. I feel bad now. I got so many tabs open. It's insane. 4 screens. $40 tabs. Thank you, King. How you been today, man? Like your platform, man. It's coming along quick and fast, man. Trying to get more people over to check out float.app. And here, I'm going to pull them down. I'm streaming over there too. Give you guys a preview of float.app that are on the other platforms right now. Seeing Float. I say it's kind of like a Twitter clone that's coming out. A lot more honesty and truth and unity. I mean, people that are all about the truth all over are coming together, man. And Kingsley's a really cool dude, man. You guys really should come check out his work. Pop over, check the people out, and show some love. They have live streaming. You can click all, and see who all is streaming at the time. It's still growing. A lot of work. I, as someone that's been building a platform, know that stuff's not easy. And with updates and stuff constantly happen, I mean, stuff changes. And then all these big platforms and people are trying to do whatever they can to choke the little guys. It makes it even harder for platforms like this to keep growing. I try and get over and use it more and more and share it. And I've told everybody I know about it. But definitely, people, get over, check it out. Give it some love. They stream Alex Jones over there. He's usually streaming 24 hours a day. So it's definitely worth getting over and checking Alex out. And if you're not wanting to go to Band or all them other places Alex is at that are busy. Because sometimes just a flooded chat can drive you nuts. I don't even know why Alex even has a chat going most of the time, because he don't read it. But gonna end off this stream, gonna restart up another one here in a second. Here in a few minutes. I gotta get some food in me. Thank you again, big time, for the $5, King. Every little bit helps. I do what I can to try to always help other creators. I'm just a small guy. Not really out to ever try and grow and be big. I'm just trying to crack the truth open, and I'm hitting a point. We're going to start rattling the cages. I'm the type of person, man, this world needs an enema of lies. don't care, big, small, streamer, creator, news anchor, whoever you are. If I'm exposing people who have a lot of power to come and take me out in the middle of the night, these little streamers who think you're big dogs, that think you're badass because you got some groups of peoples with you, the truth can crush you quicker than anything, and you know it. Morals, respect the enemies I have with people. Am I really an enemy, or am I just a dude who called you out on some bullshit? Pretty sure I just called you out on some bullshit and you didn't like it. Didn't taste too good when I gave you your own stuff back. We never do. I come off like an asshole to the world because the world's made me this. You know damn well I've been nice and respectful, doing what good friends do. So when people stab me in the back, that means you want war. Or grow some balls and let's talk it out. Let's work it out. And fucking unite people. And put your bullshit shenanigans aside. Remember, Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall. Don't matter how big you get, you can fall faster, quicker than it ever took to grow. Ending on that note with Azigus. Forget regret. Here, chest up, and then I'm gonna grab some food, and then I'll be back in a little bit. Oh shoot, I'm gonna host Thor. This is what Tom about to do. Oh shit, wrong button. How am I messing this all up? Where's the host? Have a good night, guys. I'll be back in a little bit.